Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today we have an interesting article to go over from the state of Illinois regarding the 2026 Senate race, which is former Democratic governor apparently may be considering a run in 2026 even after he was pardoned by President Trump. The article begins by saying, the Democratic contest for the Illinois Senate seat is shaping up as a test of political power for Governor J.B. Pritzker over a primary field of candidates who enter the race with deep animosity for one another and skepticism about the governor's influence. Few policy differences exist among the three declared candidates and others who might enter the race in the coming weeks. Instead, Illinois Democrats are prepared for a contest animated by personal and political grudges stemming from the State House and the halls of Congress and the governor's mansion. The race formally began late last month when Senator Dick Durbin, announced he would not be running for a sixth term. Governor Pritzker's choice for the race, Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, created a super PAC in January. Representative Raja Krishnamoorthi has amassed a $19 million war chest, far more than he would ever need in his safe district that covers Chicago's western suburbs. And Representative Robin Kelly of Chicago is winning endorsements of 18 members of the Congressional Black Caucus. The biggest question hanging over the Democratic primary concerns money, how much Mr. Pritzker intends to spend to back Ms. Stratton, who, like most lieutenant governors, has a little profile of her own. Electing Stratton could be a boon for Pritzker as he positions himself for a 2028 presidential bid in which he could serve as a valuable campaign surrogate. The governor, a billionaire, is no stranger to cutting enormous checks. In 2022, he spent $35 million and more than that to influence the Republican primary in his reelection campaign. But Pritzker's push to send Stratton to the Senate has been met with resistance by the state's congressional delegation, whose members have chafed over the influence of his billions having led in the state. The irritation, combined with a host of personal and political resentments among the candidates, Mr. Pritzker and Senator Tammy Duckworth, another early endorser of Ms. Stratton. And all told, the contest has had enough beats to satisfy a busy lunch hour at one of Chicago's sandwich shops. This is Illinois, which is a place of sharp elbows and rough and tumble politics, said Representative Nikki Budzinski, a Democrat who said she was not running for Senate. I can tell you that this doesn't seep into the natural process of a statewide election. The interpersonal rivalries and longtime feuds animating the race are manifold. Ms. Kelly defeated Pritzker candidate to become chair of the Democratic Party in Illinois. In another election a year later, Pritzker pushed Ms. Kelly out and installed his chosen candidate. Kelly was also Mr. Krishnamoorthi's boss when they worked together in the office of Illinois State Treasurer in the 2000s, a period that ended with two on bad terms. Mr. Krishnamoorthi declined to speak about his work with Ms. Kelly. She said, "We're fine now." Meanwhile, in 2012, Mr. Krishnamoorthi lost a bitter primary to Ms. Duckworth, whose seat he won 4 years later when she was elected to the Senate. In the House, Mr. Krishnamoorthi quickly became a fundraising juggernaut, his $19 million by far the most of any candidate in the race. There's also a prospect of Representative Lauren Underwood joining the race. Pritzker's team is not so subtly warning her against doing so, suggesting privately that at 38, Ms. Underwood, who represents Chicago's southwest suburbs, has a long future ahead of her in Congress. Left unmentioned, a third black woman entering the race would most likely be unhelpful for Ms. Stratton. The NBC affiliate in Chicago recently reported that Mr. Pritzker's allies were calling Ms. Underwood damaged goods and private conversations, a story that Pritzker and his aides were vehemently denied, while suggesting someone who wanted to bait Ms. Underwood into the race had planted that. So there's certainly a very divisive thing going on here among the Democrats who could be potentially running as well. But then it gets even potentially more competitive when you bring up the former Democratic governor of the state of Illinois. Former Democratic governor of the state, Rod Blagojevich, a Democrat who was impeached and went to prison after being convicted of trying to sell the Senate seat vacated by Barack Obama when he became president, said in an interview that he, too, was weighing a run. Mr. Blagojevich, who called himself the best governor in modern Illinois political history, now refers to himself as a, quote, Trumpocrat. After Mr. Trump pardoned him in February, he said he had not decided which party's primary he might enter. Party labels are less important than they used to be, he said. One constant in discussions with Illinois officials is that the Senate race is as fluid and unpredictable a contest as any the state has seen in decades. It's not yet clear how many other candidates will enter the race or when, and some of those now running could decide the safer bet is to hold on to their House races and risk a primary loss. This race is absolutely fascinating, and I bet if doing research on this race, or if you're like a college student or something, this race would be one of the most interesting case studies for the 2026 election. Because Illinois, look, there's no beating around the bush here. Illinois is one of the most Democratic states in the entire United States. In 2022, Tammy Duckworth won by 15 points. 2020, Dick Durbin won by 16 points. 2016, we saw Duckworth win by 15.1. 2014, Durbin won by 10.9. So it's not like an overwhelmingly Democratic state. Actually, I should correct myself, like Maryland or California or even Massachusetts to a degree. And President Trump only lost the state to Kamala Harris by 11 points in 2024 after 2020 when Joe Biden won it by 17 points. 2016, Clinton won it by 17. Obama won it by 17. So it certainly hovers right around a safe Democratic margin and a likely Democratic margin, but let's be honest, it is a reliable Democratic state when push comes to shove. Maybe 2024 was the start of something where the Republicans start doing better there, but even then it was still an 11-point Democratic win. But this Senate race, for what's going to happen, is absolutely wide open. The three candidates who I already mentioned, it's going to be a very divisive, nasty primary, and if the former governor, Rod Blagojevich, enters the race and talks about being pardoned by President Trump, if he enters as a Democrat, it could make things in the Democratic primary even more interesting. If he runs as a Republican, I would still say the Democrats are probably favored, but then as the Republican candidate, if he could shore up support behind the Republicans and maybe get enough Democrats on his side, maybe he could make this race a little bit more competitive than it otherwise would be. As for the predictions for this race, though, right now, it's solid Democrat from all three political prediction sources. Race to the White House currently has it as likely Democrat. As for the 2026 Senate map right now, I have it personally ranked as safe Democrat. If Blagojevich becomes the Republican nominee and the Republicans coalesce around him, maybe if they play their cards right, I could see the race getting under 15% of the vote, where whoever the Democrat ends up being, where the primary is so divisive, a lot of Democrats maybe are turned off and they decide to not vote as much. Illinois may be able to get under 15 points, maybe about another 12 to 13 point win for the Democrats, but I'm really keeping an eye on this race, not so much because I think at the general election level it's going to be competitive, because in all honesty, I really don't think it is, but at the primary level, this is one of the most exciting political primaries we have coming up for the 2026 Senate elections and the 2026 midterm cycle, and I can't wait to keep looking out for more of this. Make sure to hit like and subscribe, leave a comment below, tell me your thoughts about this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.